Well, hello there from our lovely hotel room in King Salmon, Alaska. This is day 4
Day 4.
that we have been here, mostly waiting to get to Anayakhchek National Monument, and they are not the loveliest of digs, but it's really the only thing that we could afford here. We're traveling with a friend who is sleeping in the bunk bed here in the living room, or what goes as a living room. Small kitchenette. We have the very small bedroom to the side that also has the bathroom, so we're either in Brian's bedroom all the time or he's going to the bathroom in our bedroom. So one of those weird situations. But that's what you have to do to be able to do some of this travel. This is an expensive trip. This is the way that we can pull it off. And that kind of leads us to what we wanted to talk about briefly here, also as a way to pass the time. Is kind of some of the sacrifices you have to make in order to travel, and also to kind of talk about how not all the highlights get on social media, or more only the highlights get on social media, and often people don't see everything else that goes into making a trip happen. They only see the best parts. They only see the bear videos at Katmai. They don't necessarily see us eating peanut butter and jelly and ramen for lunch, because that's the only way that we can make the trip work.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Jen?
Well, I think starting off with, there's a lot of sacrifices you have to make in order to travel, especially as often as we do. We don't buy, the most updated electronics. We don't buy a new car every year. We don't we go out to eat sometimes, but not often. We don't buy clothes all the time. There's definitely a trade-off between traveling and some of the other materialistic things that you have in your life. And it's a conscious decision, and sometimes it's a tough decision. When you're making your phone try and work another 6 months like I did, so that we could buy it at a more opportune time at a lower cost, that's what you do. Because for us, it's important to travel, and not necessarily important to have the most updated TV and biggest TV there is out there. So there's a lot of sacrifices that go on behind the scenes when you want to travel.
And then also when we're putting together a trip, we really try to take a look at how we can maximize the value. So this is our second year in Alaska in the summer, and we've been traveling with a friend, Brian, who is also trying to visit all the national park units. And this is a way for us to be able to share some of the expenses. It costs a lot to hire a pilot to fly you around to these really remote park units. So we get to split that cost with him. Here we have a kind of a suite hotel room that is far cheaper than all the others, and we get to split this cost, which is great because this is really expensive compared to any other place that we travel, because we're in such a small place, and there aren't too many options here. So that's definitely something that we do. One thing that we knew coming into this is that food and other things were going to be really expensive once we got here. And if you take a look at the market a couple doors down, you see that most things are about 400%, 4 times the cost of what we would normally buy them in Phoenix. So that adds up pretty quickly. So one of the things that we did before we flew here, we stopped at a Fred Meyer in Anchorage. Fairbanks, that's what I said. And bought some food, some cheap food that we could figure out how to put in the suitcase. We actually brought in extra duffel bags so that we could carry on easier stuff to handle, and then put all of our food in the suitcase that we checked. So we bought some cheap chili, we bought ramen, we bought stuff to make a peanut butter jelly sandwich, there's some popcorn up there. We actually brought the
breakfast items,
stuff like that, so that we could try to ensure that we weren't eating out all the time. On this trip, we have 6 days here that we're staying in this lodge to try to get to a really difficult park unit called Anayakhchek. And so we knew that there might be a lot of downtime where we'd just be hanging out. We didn't want to spend that out eating at expensive restaurants where you can easily pay $50 for a meal that you would otherwise be annoyed to pay $12 for back in town.
And I even hate to call it a village. This place that we're staying, King Salmon, has 2 restaurants. One restaurant is open for breakfast and lunch. The other restaurant is open for dinner. Yeah. There's one little market, grocery store. There's a bank. There's a coffee shop. One car rental place. Several lodges outside of town, but that's about it. Can you think of anything else that's even here?
Not that's really walkable. Oh, well, there's a t-shirt shop connected to the airport.
That's true. In the National Park Visitor Center.
There's a visitor center. It's an interagency federal visitor center, which is quite small, but they do have movies there, so we go watch some of the movies to pass the time. So
there really is not much here. So bringing in food and other things to King Salmon has really helped out in the budget.
And going and seeing those movies is an example of things that you're not going to see on social media, the highlight reel that everybody puts out on their own social media, but is part of what is required on this trip, which is to be available for days on end, so that when the weather clears just enough for us to make this difficult flight, we can pull it off. And we just wanted to reiterate that that it's not always sexy, the traveling part. There's some definite challenges you have to sit through or make it through. Your flights might be delayed. Your weather might be crappy. You may not be able to enjoy the place the way that you want. You may not be eating fancy meals out all the time. You may not be enjoying the best nightlife or anything else like that because you have other higher priority goals in mind, and so you have to maximize for those. So,
one of the things that we do in order to save money, and in all honesty, sometimes it's more convenient, is camping. Instead of paying $100 or more a night for a hotel room, we'll spend $20 camping, whether it's in our tent or in the back of the Subaru in the lower 48. And sometimes that means that we roll into the campsite at 10 or 11 o'clock at night or later when we're really tired, but it has allowed us to maximize the amount of time for that particular day to do a bunch of things, or it sets us up nicely to start the next day off early,
closer to our
destination. That'll allow us to do some more things. So there are many nights that we have sacrificed sleep in order to get things done. And again, those are the types of things that we don't necessarily put on social media, nor do other people.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, that's just a quick little rundown of kind of how we travel, and just to reiterate that the social media highlight reel is not always fully inclusive of what the trip is like. And thanks for taking a little bit of time to watch this, and I'm glad we took a few minutes out of sitting on the couch staring into nowhere on this trip.
And we'll go back to checking the webcam to see if the clouds have cleared so we can maybe make it to Antioch later today.
Yeah. Cheers.
Cheers.